Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this cute cutout dress. I do feel like it's pretty beginner friendly, and even though I do use a serger for some parts, you can sew the whole thing on a regular sewing machine. For the pattern, I just used some chalk to trace this dress that fit me nice and snug, and then I wanted a different neckline, so I used this dress for the neckline. Then I cut it out. I already had half of it cut out for a TikTok, but every time I cut anything symmetrical, I always just cut half of it and then fold it in half to meet the other part that I had traced out, and then I cut it that way both sides are perfectly symmetric. So once that was cut out, I used the same exact piece for the back, so I just flip it and I have the right sides together, so the shiny sides, and then I'm just going to cut out the second piece for the back. Once my front and back piece were cut out, I'm just going to pin along the sides and on the top of the shoulder part. Now I'm going to sew the top of the shoulders and down the sides of the dress. I am using a serger, but if you don't have a serger, you can still make this dress and just use a zigzag or hem stitch instead. If you do use a zigzag stitch though, I always recommend to add just a tiny bit more seam allowance. So just by sewing the sides and the shoulder pieces, I already have like a decent looking dress, but I wanted it to be cut out. So here I'm just trying the dress on and marking where I want to cut it out. So here is the front, and I also did the back, but it was kind of hard to do, so I didn't record that part. And you can see in this clip that I did make a mark on the neckline, so I can take that down a bit. That way this dress doesn't have me in a chokehold the whole time I wear it. Once I was happy with the marks I made, I just used some fabric scissors to cut it out. And since we will be hemming the round cutout parts, you do need about 1/4 inch of seam allowance. But in all honesty, I was just kind of winging this whole dress. Now with my serger, I'm just going to add some clear elastic to the openings that I cut. But in all honesty, this part is optional. You could just hem it with a sewing machine, and as long as this dress is tight, it'll be fine. But I just kind of think it fits a little better like this. So I'm just adding clear elastic, which is in my description. I use it for like pretty much everything I make. So I'm just adding that around the edges with my serger. You don't really want to pull the elastic, you kind of just want to let it glide through because if you pull it, it's going to be really scrunched. So now that that's added, I'm just going to hem the two openings by just folding over the edge and sewing it down with a zigzag stitch. I like to use the 3-point zigzag stitch. After I hem the two openings, I'm going to hem the bottom of the dress as well, just by folding it over about 1/2 inch and sewing it with the 3-point zigzag stitch. And I just make sure to not pull the fabric as I'm hemming the bottom of the dress, otherwise it's going to come out wavy. Now the only thing that's left to do is the neck hole or the collar, so you could just hem that too, but I wanted a little collar. So I'm going to measure the opening, which was 7 inches, so I'm going to cut a piece that is double that. So I'm going to start with the 14-inch strip, and since I want it to be an inch wide, I'm going to double that since it's going to be folded over. So the strip that I cut out was 2 inches wide and 14 inches long, which I ended up making shorter. I sewed the two ends of the strip together and then would try it on around my neck to see if I like the fit, which it was kind of loose, so I ended up shortening about an inch. So the strip was probably about 12 inches instead of that 14. But once I have a nice fitted collar part, I'm just going to fold it in half, long sides together, and then I'm going to just pin it around the opening of the neck part. So this part was kind of tricky because you want it to fit evenly around. So if you ever pinned sleeves onto a top, you're pretty much doing the same thing. You just want to pull it and like pin opposite sides and just try to make it as even as possible. And if it's off a little, that's okay. You can pull this part to make both layers even while you sew. So here's what it looked like when I finally got it all pinned together, and now I'm going to sew around. And just make sure you're going through the dress and both layers of the collar since it's folded in half. And here is the final result. I was definitely in love with this dress, and if you want to show off your body, this is definitely the dress to do it in. If you guys have any questions, just comment them down below. I do offer one-on-one sewing classes via Zoom and in person. And if you want to see more of my work, you can always follow me on Instagram at Devalishangell. Thanks for watching.